Hello, this is Hooked by Happenstance. I'm Kendra, and it is time to start something old but new. It is time to start another round of a reading shawl. So this is the first episode in the second iteration of Yarn Tales. Now, Yarn Tales previously and continuing forward is a thing where I read books because I like having the incentive to read. And then I come back, tell you about those books, and then I put a segment into an ongoing reading shawl based on the books that I read. Now, last time I did this, what I did was I read books, and then I found something special about them, a color, a number, a stitch pattern, something, and I added a segment to my shawl. This time, however, what I'm going to be doing is more based on the kind of book that I'm reading. Not by genre, but rather by like physical book, audiobook, books with my kids, because we're doing more for fun audiobooks mostly. And also the fourth category is books that are part of the Life's Library subscription service that I got myself for my birthday. So every 6 weeks this year, I should be getting a new physical book that has not been selected by me, but that I am part of a community that is reading. So I am going to be making a shawl based on those things. And the way that it's going to work is I have 4 balls of yarn. These were all beautiful luxury yarns that have been gifted to me, and I will talk about them in just a moment. What I'm going to do is each of these stands for a particular kind of book. There's also a stitch pattern that I'm going to use that is associated with that kind of book. I'm going to do the segment of the stitch pattern, and then I'm rating books from 1 star to 5 star. A 5-star book is a book that I really enjoyed, resonated with me after I read it for one reason or another, a book that I want to tell people about. I loved it. A 4-star book is a book that I liked. Like, it was really good, it made me happy while I was reading it, or sad, or like I had a feeling from reading it, but it may not resonate as much as a 5-star book. A 3-star book is just meh. It's fine. There's nothing not so problematic. There's nothing that I dislike greatly about it, but the book doesn't really touch me in any great way. Just kind of meh. Meh is the best word to describe a 3-star book. A 2-star book is a book that I didn't like. It was not great. It either had problematic elements that were not overcome by the enjoyable nature of the book, or it just was written really poorly in a way that, again, was not overcome by the enjoyment of reading it, because I understand there are books I will read that are gonna be problematic. I think the important thing is to notice those problems and think on them and think, use that as an opportunity to consider some things. Lastly, a 1-star book is a book I hated, a book that was terrible, either because the writing was just atrocious or something, or a book that I DNF, which means did not finish. So by choice decided to just scrap a book because I am not having it. That's a 1-star. So all of the yarn for this shawl is special stuff that I have been gifted. What I'll be using are these 3 balls that were birthday gifted to me from Carla. I'll talk about them in just a second. And this skein that was dyed and gifted to me by Kat. Thank you. This here is the yarn that I'm going to be using for the books that I read and experience with my kids. This is some Bebop 100% superwash merino yarn. It was gifted to me. It is a DK weight. All of these are DK weight, 280 yards in the color Heather. Next are books that are coming from the Life's Library. This was gifted to me from a different person. This is gifted to me from Kat, the dyer of yarn. This is gifted to me by Kat, who is the dyer of Cat Tails Yarn. This colorway is called Verlaine. This is a DK, 75% superwash merino, 25% silk. And it is amazing. It's 240 yards. I believe she now has the bases named. I'm not sure what this base is considered, but it's beautiful, and I've had it waiting for the perfect project. this is the perfect project. Now, as far as audiobooks, just basic audiobooks that I'm going to read, this will be the color I use. This is some Reiwa fibers in the color Embrace. This is 100% Tibetan yak down. This is also a DK weight, and it's approximately 210 yards. The color is Summer Berry. So I'm looking forward to using this. It's very soft. It's very nice. And then the yarn that I felt when I balled it up had the smallest amount is the one that I'm going to use for physical books, because physical books outside of Life's Library are probably the ones that I will read least often. And so this is the yarn I'm using for that. This is some Madeline Tosh Silk Merino, 50% silk, 50% merino wool in the color Flash Dance. And this will be the first time I've used Madeline Tosh, so yay! Alrighty, so chapter 1, or the first book of the shawl, is completed. Here it is. Goes like this. I was glad that I had done some frogging of things because I have rescued many stitch markers and 4 of them have gone into the increases on the shawl. This is for a book that I read with my children. So it is made out of the Bebop 100% Superwash Merino in the color Heather, which has these beautiful brown and purple and lavender and a little bit of blue tones in them. It's amazing. So the book that I read was called Worth 1,000 Words by Bridget Young. It was a book that we read through audiobook, and we sat down and through the course of one day finished the entire 7-hour book. We were listening to it slightly sped up, like at 1.5 time, but we couldn't get enough of the story. So the story is basically about a girl named Tilly who has an accident when she is 9 that leaves her with chronic pain and injuries. So she is given by her Zadie, which is her grandfather, a camera. And she begins to take pictures at the age of 9, and more she starts to live in the world of these pictures that she takes. Like, she experiences her real life through pictures of real life. Now, she is known throughout her school as Lost and Found because she will use these pictures to help people find things. So then a boy named Jake, who she has never been friendly with because of reasons that stem from earlier in their childhood, he comes to her because he needs her help finding his dad. So then the rest of the book is the 2 of them working through things, despite the fact she tells him she is not a detective and that she does work alone. They basically do some detectiving together to try and find the dad. And the book is just so well doled out with facts. There is nothing in this book that is unnecessary. There's no rabbit trails, details, whatever, that are just a waste of your time or just there because clearly the author wanted to talk about a thing and not because they were important to the story. I feel like a lot of times, especially with children's mystery books, the mystery is so simple that there's just these random things stuck on there to reach a page limit. And that was not the case because this was juvenile fiction, but this was really well written juvenile fiction. So the other thing that I found really interesting about the book is a few of the things about Tilly, the main character. Number 1, the way that they deal with her chronic illness is really good. It is a part of her life. It comes up repeatedly that she has limitations, but those limitations are viewed not even, sometimes I feel like books try and view them as a superpower, and that's not the case. It's just the way things are for her. That is her reality, and you're just plunked into that reality, and that reality is given value. But it's not seen, again, as a superpower. It just is. Now, the other thing I thought was interesting is that she is a Jewish character. And it is not about her being Jewish, which I really appreciated. And I feel like a lot of books that do have Jewish main characters try to exploit that fact as a character thing. And it was not. It was just the reality. How do you know she's Jewish? She drops things like having something be a Hanukkah present, or calling her grandfather Zadie, or there's a few other little things that are said. So she just is Jewish. It's not about her being Jewish. Kind of like she has these chronic pain and injury issues, but it's not about that. That's just part of her life. And I appreciated that throughout the book. My kids also really enjoyed this book. We enjoyed it together. I thought it was a nice experience. They were into the mystery. I was into the mystery. It was good times. What did I rate the book? You may be asking yourself. Well, I rated the book 5 stars. I loved this book. I've been thinking about this book. I've already told people about this book. This is a book I would consider listening to again because I'm just, like, I want to see, am I right? Did they really, like, it felt like the mystery was well written and well wrapped up. And I generally do not like mysteries. I do have to say that I tend to prefer mysteries when they are in juvenile fiction because they tend to be less grisly, less basically just an excuse to, like, murder women and follow the great male hero finding the murdered woman, which is what I feel like most mysteries turn out, or they're like super saccharine sweet, and that bothers me too. Because real life is somewhere between those two things. And I feel like this book fell in that middle area. Also, the book deals a lot with family dynamics. A depression thing is kind of a big part. There's one character that has a lot of depression issues based on some things that have gone on. And just dealing with adults and parents having adult problems and how those adult problems affect their kids when they will or will not deal with them. That's all I have to say today about my reading Shawl, the first chapter, and Worth 1,000 Words by Bridget Young. I highly recommend the book. Find it at your library or your library's online offerings. I will see you all next time. Bye!